UvaldeRadio.net, your concert station. Robert Miguel here with you in the midst of a little concert warm-up featuring the music of John Conlee. We're so excited that the living legend of country music is coming to Uvalde County this Friday night. House Pasture Cattle Company in Concan. And tickets are on sale now at housepasture.com. You just heard Common Man, and we're doing a big block of John's music. And as luck would have it, we are blessed to have Mr. John Conlee on the phone right now. Good morning, sir.
Hello there.
Hey.
Good morning. Good to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much for checking in. I know you're a very busy, sought-after man, and first I just want to say thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure, and it's going to be a pleasure to come back to the area. We've done the House Pasture a number of times over the years, but it's been a while, and so we're looking forward to seeing everybody again.
So yeah, I was going to say, I know you had been through, Concan, House Pasture. Tell me, what's been your experience in Concan, Uvalde County? Do you come out here just to play, or do you get a little bit of pleasure in, hang out at the river, do a little outdoors? What's your plan when you come to town?
Well, in the past, we have had the time to maybe float the river a little bit, and but this time we won't. The Concan will be between two other shows that we're doing in Texas, so we'll kind of stay on the move, come and do the show, and move on to the next one this time. But we've kind of done it both ways, and like everybody else, we've been kind of shut down for a year because of the so-called pandemic, and finally we get to come back out on the road. All last year, we did no more under 10 dates, 10 shows all year long. And we've already done nearly that, or we will have done that many by the time we finish this weekend.
Now, John, someone like me has to assume that you don't even have to work anymore. I mean, like I was reading your bio, 11 classic studio records, 32 charting singles, 7 number ones. You would think that the Residuals, would just kind of be pouring through. I don't know if that is your reality or not, but what kind of strain did, not being able to do live shows put on you in the last year?
Well, it does put a strain on us, mainly for the people in the band and the support people. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones most affected across the board in the entertainment industry, I believe. And you're right. I mean, I don't have to do this. I could stay home all the time if I chose to, but I'm not supposed to do that. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is taking my music to people and continuing on. I don't have retirement is not in my vocabulary. God will retire me whenever He chooses. But until then, and as long as I can do it, I plan on being out there.
So now you have been doing this for a really long time. You've seen lots of changes, the ebb, the flow, some changes very gradual, some extremely dramatic. In your storied, history in country music and the industry in general, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen, whether they're good or maybe some of the negative ones?
Well, the main changes I've seen is we've departed from song quality to a great degree. I'm so thankful that I got to come up when I did, when I had access to some great songs and great songwriters like Harlan Howard and Sonny Throckmorton and Red Lane and so many others who knew how to craft a song with a distinctive story, a distinctive melody, and, we've lost that to a great degree. We've also lost distinctive sounds. I don't know who the new Merle Haggard is, the new George Jones, for instance, the new Ronnie Millsap. I don't see a whole lot of stylists coming along, and I miss that. But hopefully it'll everything cycles around. Hopefully that'll cycle back on both fronts.
Interesting. Now, how about positives? I mean, obviously, you're doing more, you're putting out independent music. Would you say that the technology and the ability to get your music out to the masses on your own is something good? Or what kind of positive spin do you have on these current days in music?
Well, yes, I'm thankful for the Internet. It allows people, in fact, you can have it's not impossible to have a hit without ever going to radio or not going to radio first, maybe I should say. You can do it online. The odds are still against you, but you can still do it. And for somebody like me, I can stay in touch with my fans, even though I'm not getting played with new music on the air, on the radio. My oldies are being played all the time, but if I release something new, the odds are that it would be tossed aside and never even given a chance on today's radio, and that's unfortunate. It's also unnecessary. It ought to be judged based on the quality of the song and that kind of thing, the sound of the record, as opposed to whatever the fad is for the moment.
Now, for those listening who are excited about John Conlee in concert Friday night at House Pasture and maybe might be, biting at the chomp to hear some new stuff, we do have one of your later singles, one of your new singles we're going to play here in just a moment, talk about the newest record. Again, we're talking to John Conlee. Friday night, House Pasture is a place to be. Get your tickets at housepasture.com. Now, you mentioned radio. As a longtime fan, I mean, it's so cool to have you on the show with me. Now, you have a background in radio. Let's talk about that, because I kind of feel like a lot of guys that get in radio, we get in it because kind of in the back of our minds, we want to be rock stars. We want to be big country and Western, singers. Was that the case for you? Did you just have to get bit by the entertainment bug, or what is that story?
Well, when I started taking music lessons when I was a kid on Saturday morning, that only took a half hour every Saturday morning to take guitar lessons. I had a lot of time to kill, so I started going across the street to a local radio station in Lexington, Kentucky, and fell in love with broadcasting on its own. And I intended to go out of high school, get into radio, and see where that led. I had a little delay there with another career for about 6 years before I got into radio, but I indeed got a job at a station in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Time passed, 2 or 3 other stations, and then I got a job at WLAC at Nashville. And that's the only reason I moved to Nashville, is because I got that job at that radio station. And, after I'd been in Nashville a little while, I started to write, because music had remained my hobby. And but I didn't move to Nashville to pursue the career of music. It just evolved after I'd been here for a little while.
Interesting, man. So how is, doing these interviews, and I'm sure you've just done hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, over the years. Do you still get excited about getting on the air, or is it just kind of like, oh, I got to do this guy again? Oh, boy, here we go.
No, I love it. I mean, it's really doing what we're doing right now is basically my main contact with broadcasting still, because I still love radio. In my office here at the house, I have an old Gates Stereo 80 board. If you've been in long enough, you know that's the thing with the knobs on it,
yep.
As opposed to a computer board, and old cart machines and turntables and things I used when I was doing radio. And I still love radio. I always will, to my dying day.
Now, we just talked about how you have, an affinity and appreciation for the internet. Would you ever consider doing a podcast or an internet radio program or show or something like that?
Oh, it's not impossible. I probably would not do that unless I was probably off of the road, even though it's possible to do it all. I'm going on 75 years of age, so I'm not trying to do a whole lot of new things mixing into my life. I'm trying to, slow down just a little bit without quitting. And so I don't want to complicate things too much. If I had a lot of free time, perhaps I would do that. But I am working on a new gospel CD, and we hope to have that out this year. We'll be doing at least 1 or 2 songs from that to give people a preview when we do the show Friday night.
I think it's fantastic that you're putting out a gospel record. I know we just saw some really great recent success with Carrie Underwood's new album, which I think is a much-needed thing in our world, where I don't think enough mainstream artists are doing gospel music anymore. Is that something you might be able to agree with?
Oh, I absolutely agree with it. My most active music all this past year has been at my church. I'm part of a group that does some of the classic songs at church, the old Bill Gaither songs and songs out of the hymn book, and I love that music. And you're right, our world and our nation, if we ever needed God before, and we always have, we sure do need him now. And, that's the reason I'm doing this. I've had one gospel CD out for several years, and so this will be a second edition, and I'm looking forward to getting it out there.
Now, I read somewhere that you had made a disclaimer, whether it was on maybe your new Classics 3 album or something, where you said that your music might not be politically correct. Clarify that for me. Is that possibly due to, like we're talking about, your faith? Is it your support for law enforcement? Is it just how non-PC it is to say we love America anymore? What's your views on that stuff?
Yeah, well, that is what you just mentioned.
Okay.
There's a song on Classics 3 called Walking Behind the Star, which is a tribute to law enforcement, and they're getting put down, in an unbelievable way these days, and that is wrong, and it will not work. We have a song on one of our classic CDs about that is pro-life and anti-abortion, and that's not politically correct. I don't care. Abortion is wrong. And so, yes, I don't mind speaking out on. We've got to speak up while we can, because there are people trying to shut us down in so many different ways, shut down speech. It's un-American. It's not right. And we've got to stand up against it. That's all there is to it. And I'm doing that where I can with my music.
It's so refreshing to hear you say this out loud. I think that many, especially country and Western singers, feel this way, but they're afraid to kind of rise up against the machine of the mainstream media and say it out loud. And I think it's just fantastic that
I say it freely, and I'll be talking a little bit. Sometimes I have a tendency to almost start preaching in a show. I try to keep that down, but I don't hesitate to speak up. Again, if we don't speak up now, we are going to lose this nation. I believe that. If we don't speak up now and stand against the elements who are trying to shut us down. And make no mistake about it, a lot of the crap that's going on right now, it is about control, and it is about shutting this nation down. And I'm against it. I'm just against it. That's all there is to it.
Again, so refreshing. We're talking to Mr. John Conlee. His big show is coming up Friday night at House Pasture in Concan. Get your tickets at housepasture.com. Keep it right here on Uvalde Radio. We got chances to win free tickets. We mentioned your support for law enforcement. You were honored by the state of Georgia for your dedication to law enforcement. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, we did receive an award there, and also in Tennessee. Our song, Walking Behind the Star, which we mentioned briefly a second ago, and I'll be doing it at the show, was made the state song for the Tennessee FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, about 3 years ago. And Georgia did a similar honor as well, based on that song. And, I love the fact that has made some difference in some areas. And you can find the song, by the way, it's on our album, but it's also on YouTube. If you type in Walking Behind the Star, it'll be the first thing that pops up. At least it did the other day, if they haven't removed it.
Nice. Right. Well, man, John, it's so cool to talk to you. Let's go ahead and talk about the live show. You got some hired guns? Do you have like a long-standing pack of guys in the band? Tell me who's doing your support on stage, and what are we going to expect Friday night?
Yeah, we've been together a while. The newest member of our band has probably been with me 25, 26 years.
Wow.
So we know each other pretty well. And the oldest has been with me literally from the very beginning. So, and that's 40-some years now since Rose-Colored Glasses came out. But we concentrate on the hits. That's what people come to hear. And we get as many of those in as we possibly can. Can't do them all because people have given us 30-some odd.
Right, yeah.
We'll get the main ones in. We'll do some new music that appears on these classic CDs and talk about that, and then some gospel as we go along. And, of course, after everything's over, I'll be hanging around to be glad to sign an autograph, take a picture, or just say so long. And it'll be without a mask.
That is fantastic to hear. That is so cool. I cannot wait to get a little snapshot with you, hopefully. So, again, we're talking to John Conlee. The show is Friday night, House Pasture in Concan. Let's go and talk about that new music now. Your latest record is called Classics 3, and we've got a track called Jesus Take a Hold, which we'll play here in a moment as we get back into our John Conlee mini concert warm-up. But obviously, Classics 3 means that there's a series of 2 and 1 before. So tell us about this classic series. Some of these are reissued hits, right? And then a couple of new tracks?
Correct, yeah. We ended up making, if you have all 3 of the classic CDs, you have all of our hits.
Wow.
But we kept finding new music, and that's why it's 3 discs wide instead of just 2. But we kept finding new music, and I didn't want to, I wanted to get it out there. So we added some new things, too, each of the classics. And so you have the hits and new music, spread out among the three. They'll be available at the show, too, by the way, all three.
Now, are these records re-recorded hits? Are they remastered? Tell me the background of the actual songs. So, do they differ from the old 70s and 80s recordings?
Well, there's sort of a mix and match.
Okay.
The very first album, or first two albums, were the material, are the original tracks on the first classic CD, and the others we re-recorded. However, we didn't, go, okay, we're going to re-record these, so let's change them all up. We tried to duplicate as to the T what we had originally done. So I defy most people to be able to tell the difference between the original track of, say, Got My Heart Set on You and the re-recorded version that we did in the meantime. They both, you put them side by side, and you could maybe tell the difference, but not much. We tried to stay faithful to the original because that's what people are used to hearing.
Now, technology in recording has changed so much in some of those original recordings. What was that like with, I guess, the new toys in the studio, or did you use the old school stuff?
Well, I tell you, a lot of it, we stuck with tape. The sound of tape. We used 2-inch tape when we re-recorded a lot of this stuff, so we could, again, try to duplicate that sound that we originally had. The digital stuff is all well and good, and I love it, and we use it. Don't get me wrong, we do use it. But there's something about it's kind of like the people that like to listen to records on the old albums, the old vinyl. That's made a comeback because there's a feel to that you can't duplicate any other way. And so, technology is good, but it's funny. You have to sometimes work to make it sound like it used to.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Tweak backwards. It's crazy. It's nuts.
You got to add a little dirt to it, rub it in there. So
Exactly right. A little scratch, whatever.
Right on. Well, Mr. John Conlee, it's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. What else do we need to know about Classics 3 and your new song, Jesus Takes a Hold, before we get back into the music here?
Well, another way for people to hear that before we get there is to go to johnconlee.com. And when you hit enter on the website, Jesus Take a Hold starts playing on the website. And it's an old Merle Haggard song, and it is so appropriate for what we're going through these days.
Well, sir, again, it's been an honor and pleasure to talk to you. We're so excited that you're coming back to Uvalde County, down at House Pasture in Concan this Friday. It is Mother's Day weekend. Everybody's mama loves John Conlee. So get your tickets at housepasture.com. Don't forget, House Pasture also has a crawfish boil on Saturday, so make a weekend of it. And Mr. Conlee, thank you so much. We're going to get into your new song here, and I just appreciate your time, and God bless you, sir. We'll see you Friday, okay?
Same to you. Good to talk to you.
Right on. All right, here it is. Jesus Take a Hold. This is John Conlee. This is UvaldeRadio.net.